How do Spider-Man's web shooters work? Let's swing right into that theory. Science behind Spider-Man. Looks like we're hitting a triple whammy with Spider-Man these past few videos. We did Electro, we're looking at web shooters now, and at some point in the future we'll have a video on the Green Goblin. But let's put all that aside for now, because we need to get to our question. How do Spidey's web shooters work? This is going to be a short video because, well, it's actually not all that complicated. It's interesting and it certainly took a good hour or two of research, but it's simple. So the first question we need to ask ourselves is way before we even get to the mechanical aspect of web shooters. Of course, in this case, we're under the assumption that Spider-Man has mechanical web shooters instead of biological ones, like I mentioned in my first video. In that video, I talk about how Peter Parker could potentially create his own webbing. However, since that isn't the case here, we're left with little to no information on exactly what the webbing is made of. Although we don't have a whole lot of info from media itself, we do have some pretty good examples from real life. Here's a few examples of just how strong Spider-Man's webbing is. In fact, I don't think that I've ever seen the web break. If I have, it was likely cut by some kind of sharp edge, because otherwise, that stuff, whatever it is extremely powerful. So, what do we know about the webbing? Well, we know it's adhesive, which is another way of just saying sticky, and it's very, very durable. It's also able to be thinned down to the width of a string, give or take some of that thickness. But where should we look for that? Industrial materials? Everyday objects? Synthetic science? Actually, a lot like the rest of Spider-Man, this one takes its inspiration from nature. Take a look at this little article. This is talking about a new kind of adhesive that bacteria create. This adhesive material, produced from the flagella of the bacteria, is actually strong enough to hold up 5 tons worth of cars at once. That's some durable stuff right there. As far as I can tell, there's no name for it yet, but it might be a kind of amyloid from what I've seen. Amyloids are fiber-like structures, similar to string you could say, that are produced by some forms of E. coli bacteria. These molecules that make the amyloid are actually automatic. They will arrange themselves without any outside force. However, there's not a whole lot to go on with this theory because people like Peter Parker just don't have access to E. coli. In fact, E. coli is considered one of the deadliest forms of bacteria in some cases. I don't care if you're a science whiz like Peter Parker, that stuff isn't touchable by someone living in an apartment in Queens. You'd probably need a full-on lab to keep yourself safe. So amyloids are off the list. Another culprit, however, could be byssus. Byssus is an adhesive produced by mussels. This substance lets them stick to the sides of rocks and other surfaces. But, again, we hit a brick wall. Byssus works well underwater, but it is imperfect when exposed to oxygen. And at the rate that web shoots out of the web shooter, that's a lot of oxygen it's exposing itself to in a short amount of time. So byssus isn't our webbing either. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and say the first notion we had, the one with the type of bacteria producing a thus far unnamed adhesive, is the correct one. Now, you're probably thinking that that example and the one with E. coli are the same, but they aren't. And here's why. The bacteria that produces the adhesive is called Caulobacter crescentus, and it's aquatic, meaning it thrives and lives in places that are underwater. You know what places like New York City have? Fountains and rivers. Heck, New York City itself comes into contact with the ocean. Sounds like we found the tiny little guys that make the webbing. So how does someone get that stuff into the web shooter? This would be a pretty daunting task, more time consuming than anything. It's a matter of collecting the bacteria, extracting the adhesive from them, and collecting enough of it to create webbing. That might take a lot of time, and by a lot of time, I mean possibly years, depending on what your day is like. But hey, when you want something bad enough, you go for it, right? Plus, there are certain ways to replicate molecules naturally. It might be the case that a farm for these bacteria would help out. Heck, you could even probably just extract a bunch of it from the water and cut your years down to weeks. So we know what the webbing is, so now we get to the simpler portion. What are the mechanics of a web shooter? How does it sling webs? There's a lot of ways this could work, but my personal theory is that the web shooters work on a system relying on air pressure. Picture it like a balloon. When the balloon deflates, the gas in the balloon is sucked into the atmosphere. Even if the balloon you're opening has already deflated a little, the gas still whizzes right out at a pretty strong rate too. Here's how I think it works. The webbing inside the shooter is kept in a small little container, while mechanics in the web shooter cause the web to be spun around, sort of like a kite spinner. At the end of the web shooter, there's a lid of some kind that's attached to a pressure pad, which is where Peter's fingers connect to his palm in the iconic hand movement. When pressed, the pressure pad lifts up the lid, and like a deflating balloon, the air and the end of the web shoot out of the small opening at a rate powerful enough to shoot a fair distance and attach to objects. This is probably best demonstrated in 2012's The Amazing Spider-Man. The web shooters are the right shape to contain the spinning mechanics. The ends could most certainly serve as lids, and it's even shown that the web sometimes doesn't reach all the way, due to it either running out or simply not having enough pull to lift it further. However, the new MCU Spider-Man shows off another feature that suggests our conclusions. The web, once it reaches a certain distance, becomes wider spread and a little messy looking, unlike the Amazing Spider-Man's clean-cut string-like webs. This suggests that the material used to create the webbing was indeed spliced together. Although it's all the same material, different portions of it had to be combined, resulting in a slightly less stable web. And there you have it. Of course, there's other ways the web shooters could work, and this is definitely just one of those many ways. Make sure to comment what you think it does. Make sure to tune in next time as well, when another episode comes swinging in. Hey guys, hope you all enjoyed this episode of Science Behind Superheroes. If you guys did, wait a minute, let me stop myself right there, because I have a quick announcement to make. Until further notice, I will not be taking suggestions, because I have so many stockpiled right now that I just need some time to really, because I just need time to really get them done at this point. So I'm not taking suggestions until further notice. It won't be all that long, but I will need some time. I'll make sure to leave that as an announcement in the comments as well, just so everyone who watches this can know that. But make sure to make some conversation in the comments, because honestly I really like seeing that. I think you guys like seeing that as well. So yeah guys, the video's over now. Have a great day.